Hey now, lore keepers, and welcome back. We've made it through yet another killer month, and what a way to wrap up 2003 than with this complete full month omnibus. We've got a jam-packed lineup with some heavy hitters. We're diving deep into the web-slinging action with not one but two issues of the Ultimate Spider-Man, and we'll see what's going on with both the street-level justices of Daredevil and the Punisher. We'll also check in with the X-Men and the rest of the mutants across multiple X titles, including the new X-Men and the Exiles. It's a packed month, so let's jump right into this cosmic chaos in December of 2003. Agent X, Volume 1, Issue 14. All right, true believers, buckle up because this deep dive into Deadpool walking is about to get wild, weird, and seriously messed up. We're starting in the middle again, so let's back up and kick things off with Black Swan, who suddenly finds himself burdened with an inconvenient conscience after a gruesome act on a Portuguese cargo ship. Meanwhile, Alex mirrors this, letting an assassin live and realizing he's grown a conscience as well. Don't go thinking it's all hugs and rainbows. Alex soon hooks up with Taskmaster, who's ready to brawl over Alex's fling with Sandy. Uh-oh. Now, despite the tension, Alex takes a gig as a chauffeur for a former enemy, Higashi, aiming to end the Four Winds feud, though Alex is clearly steamed about Higashi's interest in Sandy. Things explode literally during the drive when two bunny and kitten clad assassins on motorcycles attack, attaching a grenade rigged puppy to the car. Alex grabs the bomb, but it explodes in his hand, and to add insult to injury, the biker kicks him in the face. Inside, Higashi IDs them as Northern Wind, and Sandy takes the wheel as Taskmaster blasts away it. But Taskmaster slams the brakes, they bail and activate a sonic shield, and fight ensues. 20 minutes later, Higashi's car pulls up, dragging the defeated, giggling assassins from the trunk to their leader, Kita. Alex surprisingly suggests Sandy go for Higashi, but Sandy assures him, flashing her dress, she has no regrets about them. That night takes a chilling turn when Taskmaster finds Sandy's apartment door tampered with, only to discover Black Swan inside. Taskmaster pulls a gun, but Swan introduces his friend, who reveals Deadpool's mask. Sandy and Taskmaster are stunned, thinking Alex was Deadpool all along, but Alex just shoots Deadpool right in the head. Boom! Talk about a cliffhanger. The saga gets even grimier as Outlaw mourns her father in Texas, while back at Sandy's apartment, Taskmaster and Sandy frantically try to put Deadpool's exploded head back together, with Sandy's cat disturbingly licking the pieces. Alex thinks it's a huge waste, but Black Swan chillingly explains that Deadpool heals faster with all of his parts. Alex surprisingly hates Deadpool for some unknown reason, but begrudgingly helps Sandy move the still bleeding Merc to the bathtub, even punching Deadpool several times in the face. Brutal. Back in the living room, Black Swan spills the tea he just offered his partner Nijo when Deadpool came to kill him. And from the bathroom, Deadpool starts spouting baby talk, and Swan realizes that he's growing his memory back. Taskmaster's skeptical, but Swan proves his point by slicing off his own finger, promising it'll grow back. Deadpool shouts and sends Sandy and Alex rushing back, only to find the Merc with a mouth has hilariously rediscovered his genitals and is playing with them. Still mentally a baby. They bail. Back in the living room, Alex asks how Swan's mind link with Deadpool involves him. Black Swan smiles and drops the ultimate bomb. Alex is Nijo's dead body. Holy smokes, true believer, this saga just got wild and turned dark. In the car, Swan announces Alex's amusement park is the perfect spot for a memory restoration, and Deadpool, in the back, somehow gets his pants off again. Swan explains that Alex's traits are a bizarre mix: Deadpool's healing and humor, plus Swan's weapons, skills, and ambition and rage from being burned in a white hot fireplace, which would explain Alex's irrational hatred of Deadpool. Outside the park, Swan confirms the memory swap is on, claiming all he got out of it was Radiohead and porn knock knock jokes. Alex and Sandy kiss, and Swan tells the Taskmaster they look happy, but Taskmaster warns him he's watching him. Swan admits he can't betray them, having gained Nijo's honor. Meanwhile, Outlaw returns to Sandy's apartment and immediately figures out what went down after spotting Alex and Sandy's underwear by the bed. Uh-oh. Inside the park, Taskmaster is perched on the Ferris wheel aiming a sniper rifle at Swan as the procedure begins.
Suddenly, Deadpool and Alex are hit with incredible pain. Swan declaring Alex's sense of humor is nothing more than a nuisance and tells Alex he's giving it back. Sandy yells something has gone wrong. Always the obvious one, that one. Taskmaster tries to shoot, but is knocked from the Ferris wheel as Swan suddenly gains his new powers. A little from Deadpool, a little from Alex, and his own powers give him levitation and lightning bolts. Sandy shoots Swan, but barely phases him. His lightning bolt hits her, and she almost shoots herself. Alex jumps at Swan, punching, but a lightning bolt takes Alex down, and now he's not breathing. Sandy calls for Taskmaster, but he's also unconscious. Swan prepares to finish Alex off, gloating in a stunning moment. Deadpool stabs Black Swan in the back with both swords. Holy crap, true believers. Elektra, Volume 2, Issue 28. All right, true believers, we kick off a high stakes meetings with the three Paladin Corporation executives, Henry Andrews, Peter Kroom, and Peter Frickinger. These bigwigs had their hands deep in the cookie jar during the whole Jonda incident. That's the big power play arc before this one. Their fellow executive George is late to the party, and trust me when I say that means trouble. They quickly move past the other business straight to the main event. Elector taking a job from them, and then completely nerfing the palace and half the cabinet. I mean, ow. We then learn Paladin Corp's harsh policy. They redline assassins after the fourth job with their corporation. And here's the kicker. Mr. Andrews was conveniently unaware that our anti-hero Elektra was not supposed to be on the red line list. Then a chilling discovery. They find George's phone right there in the dining room with them. A quick search later, and they find George himself trussed up like a pig, ready to be bled. This gruesome sight is immediately followed by widespread panic and frantic fleeing. When Elektra herself confronts Mr. Andrews, he takes the ultimate dive. He defenestrates himself. No messing around. Elektra, being the professional she is, then tracks down the other two executives with her usual deadly savoir faire. And just to put the cherry on top, the iconic line drops. You can cancel the duck ragout. What a brutal way to wrap up a business meeting. The Exiles, Volume 1, Issue 35. Our story kicks off in that familiar cosmic waiting room, the Exile's personal limbo, as Time Broker pops up with an apologetic grin. It seems Kenneth Crichton hit their last teleport with a chaos spell and scattered our heroes across different realities for different durations. Time Broker even so casually shrugs it off as, crap happens, and gives them a few minutes to huddle up for their next jump. Ileana, still dripping wet and seriously ticked off from her 10-minute dunk in the middle of the ocean, demands to know everyone else's chaotic detours. Morph, rocking a shirt that screams as crazy as I want to be, reveals that he and Feather spent hours battling a rabid, crackhead, testosterone laden Wolverine in Canada. Like a birthday with no cake and more blood. Mariko, meanwhile, is distraught because they spent 6 weeks back on Legacy Planet with MJ, and she really wasn't ready to leave yet. But the biggest jaw dropper, Calvin strides in, claws out, battle scarred, bearded, and sporting a full mane. He's been to the brood infested Earth where he found no other humans and only those nasty egg laying alien insects. He's vague about how long he was there, but maybe about 6 months. Just when you think they might catch a break, Time Broker declares Exiles reunion hour is over and it's showtime. He zaps them, physically restored and looking spiffy, right into a compact space. Heather and Morph immediately yell in shock. They landed right in the middle of the Fantastic Four's first mission. Ben, Reed, Sue, and Johnny are all there, totally bewildered by their hitchhikers. Calvin checks the Talus, and the mission is super weird. Don't let anyone die. As Ben starts complaining about cosmic rays, Magic plunges her soul sword into the shuttle floor and starts chanting a heavy duty absorption spell, pulling in all the radiation to protect the team. But while she is busy, the original Fantastic Four start their transformations. Johnny starts smoking and Ben begins to shake uncontrollably. When the hull starts breaking up, Morph, in a stroke of genius, transforms into a giant sheet and lines the entire cockpit with himself to brace for impact. The shuttle crashes safely outside of New York City, smoking but with everyone unharmed. Magic perches atop the shuttle like a boss, while the Fantastic Four are still reeling from their narrow escape and new powers. Reed Richards, ever the scientist, is totally stoked about the alternate realities and the Exiles' powers, comparing them to Captain America and the Invaders. Calvin, ever the no nonsense guy, mutters, "Well, it's about to change." Johnny is startled as he bursts into flames when Sue freaks out as she becomes invisible. But Ben, he's just plain angry, blaming Reed for his cosmic ray exposure. But just as the original FF are processing their wild transformation, Ben truly becomes the thing. He erupts in a rocky rage, slamming his fists into the ground and throwing Sasquatch into the trees like a rag doll. Mimic orders an all-out attack with him, Mariko, Ileana, and Morph, who turns himself into a half-Hulk, half-missile, trying to subdue the rampaging rocky giant. Despite their combined efforts, the thing is a powerhouse and tosses them around like toys. Morph takes a solid hit, Mimic's healing factor kicks in, and Mariko confirms Ben's cracked a few ribs. They quickly realize the thing is headed straight for New York City, and it's a race against time to stop him. What a wild ride, eh? I think the Exiles can reel in the brand new thing before he wreaks havoc on the Big Apple. Thanos, Volume 1, Issue 1. All right, so imagine this. Thanos is completely alone, brooding on a desolate, ruined planet. And suddenly, a massive, super fruity space dragon approaches, looking pretty menacing. But before it can do anything, Adam Warlock shows up and blasts it away with an energy bolt. Warlock explains the dragon is harmless, just attracted to Thanos' immense power output. And Thanos grumbles about Warlock's sudden appearance, but he quickly opens up and gives pretty much his entire origin story to Warlock. He reveals he's responsible for the devastation of this very planet, Rigel 3, and that he's actually forsaken the godhood he once attained. His new goal? To find balance. Warlock, claiming that he wasn't even following Thanos, suggests that they journey together to see where this strange coincidence leads them. Their travel takes them to New Rigel, where Thanos declares he's seeking redemption. However, it's not a peaceful arrival because the Rigelian forces immediately attack Thanos' ship. Thinking fast, Thanos and Warlock teleport directly into the Capitol Palace, where they're promptly assaulted by the palace guards. Here's where it gets truly wild. To Warlock's absolute surprise, Thanos simply surrenders. He admits his past crimes against the Rigelians and boldly asks how he can serve them. Talk about a complete turnaround for the Mad Titan. Meanwhile, all this is happening, you see subtle and ominous hints in the side panels. There's a gradual, chilling awakening of an unidentified, sinister being. These visuals build a real sense of foreboding, implying that even with Thanos' surprising quest for redemption, a new, powerful threat is stirring in the background, completely separate from the current action. What an unsettling development. Ultimate Spider-Man, Issue 47. So, Spider Man's usual night patrol takes a turn when he stumbles upon his old foes, the Enforcers, shaking down a Kingpin employee for illicit cash. When things go sideways, Spidey swings in and quickly takes down the goons and hands them over to the police. But Kingpin isn't one to let a little thing like jail time get in his way. He swiftly frees the Enforcers, seething at their incompetence. Disgusted by their failure, Kingpin launches a calculated political offensive. His crony Sam Bullet announces his candidacy for district attorney. Their campaign's main target? None other than your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And who do they turn to for vocal support in their smear campaign? The biggest spider hater in town, the Daily Bugle. Meanwhile, Peter Parker catches wind of this escalating campaign against his alter ego and feels the weight of it all. And if that wasn't bad enough, Mary Jane walks in with a list, a terrifying roll call of everyone who knows Spider-Man's secret identity. Overwhelmed and already at his breaking point, Peter uncharacteristically lashes out at MJ. She's even understanding, sympathizes with his stress, and wishes him better luck in navigating their storm. Later at the Daily Bugle, Peter overhears Robbie Robertson and J. Jonah Jameson discussing their support for Bullet's anti-Spider-Man campaign. Peter, unable to bite his tongue, jumps in. He confronts Jameson, demanding to know why they're focusing on Spider-Man when the real villain is clearly Kingpin. Jameson, already on edge, explodes at Peter's insolence, and in a rash fit of anger, he fires Peter on the spot. The decision leaves Peter in stunned silence. Despite all their clashes, he never thought Jameson would actually go that far. What a mess, my fellow archivists. Peter's identity is compromised, his job is gone, and Kingpin is playing dirty. How do you think Spider Man will fight a political campaign, especially now that he's unemployed? Punisher, Volume 4, Issue 33. All right, true believers, we kick off things this time on a grimy rooftop. And who's there? None other than the Spider Man, the Wolverine, and the Man Without Fear. The Daredevils called the meeting, but what's the topic? It's all about the one man war machine himself, the Punisher. The trio recalls all the recent headaches and bloody incidents they've had with Frank Castle. And enough is enough, they decide. It's time to bring him down once and for all. Meanwhile, the Punisher's doing what he does best, dishing out brutal justice. He's deep in a violent shootout with some criminals, and when the dust settles, he mercilessly kills them all. He walks out of the building cool as ice as it blows up behind him. Talk about a grand exit. Next stop, a bar where Punisher hooks up with the detective Martin Soap. Soap hands over some sweet intel on a high-profile criminal auction that's going down later. Punisher then shakes down several lowlifes for more auction details, even running into a superhero spotter, Spacker Dave. He then gets a call from his informant Inskip, who's got some big news, and Punisher heads to the meet location. Frank Castle arrives and talks with Inskip, and then the hammer drops. Punisher realizes Inskip totally sold him out, and just like that, Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Wolverine ambush him. Yeah, you heard it, true believers. The trap is sprung, and Frank Castle is surrounded by some of the Marvel Universe's biggest guns. What a setup for a brawl. And there you have it, true believers. The stage is set for a massive clash. And what do you think happened next when Spidey, Wolvie, and the DD corner the Punisher? Runaways, Volume 1, Issue 7. All right, Omni fans, this is where the action blasts off. The Pride members are laying it all out for Frank Dean, explaining how their own kids have totally gone rogue and formed their own team. Talk about a family feud. Meanwhile, back at the Runway's secret base, Chase Stein is giving Alex the lowdown. He switched their license plates to throw the cops off of their scent. Smart move, Chase. Then Nico crashes in with some bad news. She's lost the staff of one. But Alex, always the brain, drops the bombshell. Nico didn't just lose it, she somehow absorbed the staff of one the last time she used it. Wild, right? The team gets hungry, so they head out to Circle A for some grub. But no rest for the wicked, they walk right into a robbery. And Nico, without missing a beat, cuts herself to make the staff of one appear. Carolina tries to blind the robbers with a flash of bright light, but smashes a window instead. Nico then runs in aiming to freeze the bad guys, but instead belts them with pelicans. Classic Nico misfire. Two of the robbers bolt, but Chase, ever the hero, captures the younger robber, Topher, and rips off his mask. Topher spills the beans, claiming his own evil parents forced him to do the robbery. Alex, ever the leader, welcomes Topher onto the team. This runaway saga just got a new recruit? The Spectacular Spider-Man, Volume 2, Issue 5. All right, so Spider-Man finally confronts Eddie Brock, asking how long they've been battling cancer. And get this, Brock reveals he's been living with it for years, even before the whole career-ruining Sin Eater fiasco. It turns out the doctor gave him 3 months to live back then, but when he's bonded with the symbiote, that ticking clock gets extended. Apparently, Brock's specific type of cancer supercharges his adrenaline production, which strangely enough made him a satisfactory second choice for the symbiote, keeping him alive. That's when Spidey has a chilling realization. Brock has hated him for so long because he knew that if the symbiote ever went back to Spider-Man, his cancer would finally kill him. But now with the symbiote gone looking for a new host, Brock is literally on death's door. As he's talking to Spider-Man, Brock suddenly doubles over, coughing up blood, and then collapses to the floor. Without a second thought, Spidey webs up Brock to his back and races off, desperate to find the one thing that can save him, the symbiote. But it's a race against time that they can't win. As they get close to the alien, Brock finally succumbs. He dies quietly in the arms of his greatest enemy, a truly poignant moment. Kneeling over Brock's lifeless body, Spider-Man practically shouts at the alien symbiote lurking in the shadows, telling it only has 3 minutes before Brock's brain finally gives out entirely. The symbiote coldly refuses, saying its next bond will be permanent, and joining Brock again would condemn it to an eternity of disease. Spider Man warns the time is running out, and the symbiote just attacks. And as they battle, the symbiote drops another bombshell. It's carrying another offspring. The creature quickly gains the upper hand and is just about to try to bond with Spidey again. The web slinger makes a desperate move. He slings the web at Brock's body and yanks it directly into the symbiote. The alien is absolutely enraged, but it can't fight its own nature. It's forced to rejoin with Brock. And after a tense moment, Brock's eyes snap open and the symbiote completely envelops him. Venom is back. He climbs to his feet and swears revenge at Spidey, and then it leaps off into the night. Spidey collapses, left wondering if maybe, just maybe, it would have been better for everyone if he had let Brock die. What a heavy ending. Ultimate 6, Volume 1, Issue 3. All right, so things kick off with Nick Fury doing his usual globe-trotting surveillance gig when an agent buzzes him, and they both stare at a screen with jaws dropped. Something major just went down, for real. Immediately, Nick calls in the Ultimates to the S.H.I.E.L.D. prison, which is just trashed. Iron Man gets there first, confirming the obvious: all of the prisoners are gone. And the damage is bad. Only 3 out of 38 agents survived, and one of them is Hank Pym, who we saw get messed up pretty badly by mutant-powered Otto Octavius. The surveillance tapes show the whole chaotic breakdown. The Green Goblin, Electro, Dr. Octopus just plowed their way through the agents and soldiers, carving out an escape route for everybody else. And as Fury and the Ultimates huddle up to scheme, Fury suggests hitting up people with major grudges against these 5 villains. His mind immediately snaps to Peter Parker. Now, over at Peter's high school, Clay Quartermain, a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, pulls him right out of class. Being Peter, asks for ID, and Clay flashes Nick Fury there on his wristwatch. Fury, looking absolutely steamed, and barks at Peter to suit up and hustle. Clay then zips Peter straight to Triskelion S.H.I.E.L.D.'s headquarters. And at Triskelion, Fury's struggling to juggle the whole mess. He brings Peter in to meet the Ultimates. And man, are they floored that Spider-Man is just a kid. Tony Stark even cracks a joke, asking if Fury traveled back in time for this recruit, which is why he's Iron Man and not a comedian. When Peter finally gets how serious this whole situation is, he immediately starts arguing with Fury, insisting he's got to call Aunt May and Mary Jane, and Fury just loses it, screaming at Peter how he's lost more agents today than in his entire career, showing you just how much pressure he's under. Meanwhile, at the White House, Norman Osborn makes a phone call to the Chief of Staff. Osborn spills some seriously damaging secrets about Nick Fury, and let's just say they're not well received. The Chief of Staff hangs up quick and sprints into the Oval Office to drop this bombshell on the President. Will Fury's risky plan to stop the Ultimate Six be enough to save the world from this new threat? Daredevil, Volume 2, Issue 53. Okay, archivists, let's dive back in. We pick up in a profoundly unsettling place, Rikers Island, where the Kingpin drops a bombshell on Maya Lopez. He confesses to manipulating her and her father's death, but then reveals a twisted affection, claiming to love her like his own daughter, as much as it's in his nature to do so. Back home, Maya struggles with this revelation. She understands that while Fisk's actions were evil, his words felt genuine, leaving her profoundly unsettled. This realization shatters her previous understanding, forcing her to see that her anger and emptiness aren't just from external betrayals, but are now rooted inside of herself. Upon seeing her self-portraits, she questions if her quest for vengeance was a waste of her talents, realizing she needs to follow the lead of heroes like Daredevil, who turn setbacks into strengths. This new path leads her back to her roots, to the reservation where her father used to take her. Maya's return to the reservation feels like a homecoming. She finds the old chief is still alive, who recognizes her as the deaf girl who once asked profound questions. The chief reveals he heard of her Echo play and explains the immense power of stories. They gain a life of their own, evolve, and they even return to their storyteller sometimes, offering new insight. He confirms the Sweat Lodge was held for her father, filled with stories and magic. When Maya seeks guidance, the chief prepares her for her own vision quest through a purification ceremony. He emphasizes that the Inipi, or the Sweat Lodge, is a sacred spirit place, a humble structure where diverse people can come together to achieve higher communication through humility. He urges her not to focus on the emptiness of her father's death, but the gift of his life, lest her world become empty. The chief explains that the original purpose of the Vision Quest, a solitary journey where a Manito or spirit might appear to confer supernatural power to the tribe's needs. He shares a legend of a boy's quest from which maize sprouted, becoming a life's purpose and a gift to his community. Maya begins her own quest fasting in the woods for 4 days. She starts to shed her fears, opening herself to the lessons of nature. In a dreamlike state, a rabbit and a wild dog approach her without fear. Then she sees an owl with glowing yellow eyes, which makes her think of the chief's 3 questions from the Vision Quest. Who am I? What have I become with who I am? And why am I here? As a storm gathers, she senses something large approaching, seeing a silhouette in the trees. The skies light up, and she sees the creature clearly, a man shaped like a Wolverine. So Kingpin's confessed, Maya's on a vision quest for a new purpose, and who's this mysterious Wolverine shaped person who appears to her? The Exiles, Volume 1, Issue 36. After some quick reality catch up, the exiles get a nasty shock. In this reality, there's no Spider Man, no Thor, no Iron Man, no Avengers, and the X Men are probably still hitting books in high school. Yikes. Calvin drops an obvious truth bomb. For this nebulous mission, they're on their own, with only a brand new, unseasoned Fantastic Four to back them up, and one of them is currently a rampaging Rocky Beast. Reed Richards, still human thankfully, suggests that they find a way to reverse Ben's transformation, name dropping scientists like Tony Stark and Otto Octavius. Heather decides on a split strategy. Send Morph with Reed, despite Morph's sarcastic gripes about Reed's brain power and the whole turning best friend into Fing Fam Foom thing. The rest of the team heads straight in for the action in New York to tackle the Thing. Over at the Brooklyn Bridge, the Thing is living up to his name, tossing cars like toys, while a news chopper gets a little too close and pays the price. Mimic and Sasquatch crash the party with Heather taunting Ben about his lack of purple pants, before landing on his back and slamming him down. The fight is on. Thing throws Heather across the bridge, and then Mimic goes for a one-man fastball special in his metal form, only to get tossed himself. Meanwhile, Sue is trying to master her invisible powers, while Johnny is still trying to figure out how to nightlight everything on fire, while Sunfire is carrying most of the work picking up panicked civilians. Back at Stark Industries, Reed and more of historical superhero knowledge and the genius of Tony Stark and Dr. Octavius race to create a device to reboot Ben. But the real shocker comes on the bridge. After a brutal underwater brawl, the Thing lands a devastating blow on Calvin's flesh form, shattering his ribs. And as Calvin lies bleeding on the shore, he delivers a chilling revelation to Heather. He wasn't on the Brood planet for 6 months, but a horrifying 4 years. He confesses he's been implanted with the brood eggs twice and has fought them off both times. With his body now severely damaged, though, he can't fight the new one growing inside of him. He desperately begs Heather to kill him before it's too late, but Heather in disbelief is hesitant. But Mimic, seeing the grim truth, makes a terrible choice. He blasts Heather with an optic blast and then unleashes a horrifying truth. You should have acted when you could, but it's too late now and there will never be another opportunity, and you'll have to face the Brood. Mimic, now hunched, bleeding with bone claws extended, has transformed into a terrifying Brood Mimic. What a gut punch, true believers. With Mimic now a brood-infested monster and the Thing still in a rampage, how will the Exiles possibly turn this chaos around? Mystique, Volume 1, Issue 7. We kick off in a tense late-night scene in Kongdong Palace at Pyongyang. A North Korean officer is pressing an elderly butler, a young woman and a boy, accusing one of them of being a shape-shifting spy who's lifted a sensitive document. The officer isn't messing around either, threatening to kill all 3 of them if the spy doesn't step forward. After some quick back and forth where the young woman tries to take the fall to protect the boy, Mystique bursts into action. Turns out she was disguised as one of the regime's statues, and she quickly takes down the officer. After revealing her true blue form, she gets a less than heroic reception from the kid. who immediately screams for guards. And the fight breaks out. Her handler, Short Pack, the telepathically guides her through the palace, leading her to a fire escape and a quick exit with a Forge Tech rocket pack. The next morning, back at Mystique's safe house in Brooklyn, Professor X is waiting, albeit as a telepathic projection. He's got a grim news. Ford's cracked the stolen intel, revealing the North Korean plan to weaponize Big Pox, a mutated smallpox strain capable of instantly killing anyone vaccinated against the original virus, which means the millions of humans and mutants, including Xavier, Forge, and likely Mystique herself. Despite her initial protest that it's a human on human crime which is outside of her mutant focused mission, their personal stakes quickly become clear. Xavier assigns her to the job of neutralizing the bioweapons creator, Dr. Harrison Taylor, in Johannesburg. Forge joins the briefing, delivering some snarky banter with Mystique while equipping her with a lipstick tracker, a temporary biometric shield watch, and a super cool hairpin that zaps fountains. Because you never know when you're going to need to blow something up. Before Mystique even leaves for her mission, she gets an unexpected reunion at JFK International Airport. In disguise, she's confronted by Shepard, who immediately sees through her shape shifting. He reminds her of their romantic dinner in Cuba, where he tried to recruit her as a double agent. He asks why she still wears the necklace he gave her, which can summon him. Mystique, always pragmatic, retorts, because it looks expensive. Shepard then makes an irresistible offer: freedom from Xavier and immense wealth if she'll prove her loyalty by smuggling him a sample of the mutant smallpox she's been tasked to acquire. Mystique is furious and he knows about her mission, but Shepard vanishes before she can press him for more details. Moments later, Shepard reports back to his shadowy boss, a hooded figure on a throne, confirming he's found Raven. He's instructed that next time he can tell her she works for the Quiet Man, whose true identity she'll soon discover. So, what's it going to be, true believers? Will Mystique play both sides, or will she stick to her mission and face down the Quiet Man? This mutant drama is just getting started. New X-Men, Volume 1, Issue 48. Alright, so picture this. Asteroid M is on an unstoppable collision course, literally plummeting straight towards the sun for its ultimate destruction. And who's trapped inside, totally helpless? None other than Wolverine and Jean Grey. Wolverine drops the grim truth on Jean. They've got enough air for 36 hours. But here's the real kicker. They've actually going to hit the sun in about 24. Jean is desperate to move, is using her telekinesis to try to build some kind of escape, but she quickly confirms the station is just too massive, and the heat, it's already absolutely searing. You then get this key detail about Wolverine's past. He tells Jean he got gutted by Weapon 15 and blew up Weapon Plus Station before crashing into this very asteroid. As the sun gets closer and closer, but they both realize it's Magneto who's truly behind this dire situation. You can practically feel the clock ticking down on their last moments. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Magneto is not exactly having a calm day. You see Ernst lamenting Zorn, but Magneto wastes no time in shutting that down, reminding her that Zorn was simply a fiction. It's always been him. He's also brushing off Toad's frantic reports of chaos in the streets because his focus is entirely on the grand design. And what's that design, you ask? He's masterminded nothing less than a full blown species war, all orchestrated in Charles Xavier's name, whom we know as Xavier's unconscious captive. Magneto, in a truly chilling monologue, lays out his plan. He's going to reverse the Earth's magnetic core, a cataclysmic event designated to obliterate humanity and usher in the era of Homo Superior, all supercharged by the drug Kick. He's even commanding Esme to hunt down any surviving X-Men using Cerebra, and perhaps most shockingly, he orders a visibly horrified Beak to lead a massive extermination of humans in New Genosha. You can see Magneto is pushing an extremist vision to his absolute terrifying extreme. Now, as the temperature inside Asteroid M climbs to an unimaginable level, Wolverine and Jean share a heartbreaking conversation. Jean reveals the Phoenix Force can't fly them through space. She's rapidly fading and her powers are slipping away. Wolverine, in a desperate attempt to find any way out, even lashes out and smashes machinery. But it's clear that there's no escape. Then, in an incredibly gut wrenching moment, as Jean begs him not to leave her, Wolverine makes the ultimate agonizing choice. He plunges his claws into her, instantly ending her life to spare her the prolonged, torturous death. He then carries her lifeless body to the airlock, declaring that they'll all go out in a blaze of glory. As the sun finally engulfs Asteroid M, Jean's corpse briefly ignites with the Phoenix's immense power before both Wolverine and Jean and the entire asteroid are utterly annihilated. It's a powerful, tragic, and definitive end to their story. Supreme Power, Volume 1, Issue 3. Our story kicks off with Mark Milton meeting President George Bush. Bush tasks Mark with a top secret mission for Operation Desert Storm: destroy Iraqi resources fast and without being seen. Mark accepts, and his unseen actions lead to Iraq's quick surrender, though the victory is publicly credited to the coalition missiles. Years later, Jason Scott, a sharp reporter for the Washington Herald, smells a rat. He's suspicious of Iraq's easy defeat and the other uncredited American victories. Despite his editor's warnings, Scott digs deep into Project Hyperion, finding sparse clues but eventually locating Miss Kavanaugh, who first discovered Mark. Scott hammers the CIA with letters, finally getting a censored document and a secret meeting with an unnamed agent, where he learns some truth. Unknown to Scott, the government is watching every move he makes. He's not the only reporter digging, but he's the closest to cracking Hyperion's secret. The powers that be are split: keep hiding Hyperion or risk uncontrolled leak. The decision lands on President Bill Clinton's desk, and he gives the green light to reveal the truth about Scott. And how does the revelation happen, true believers? Scott gets woken up in the middle of the night by a personal visit from Hyperion himself. Talk about a wake-up call. Eventually, Hyperion's existence becomes public. He's introduced as a superhero and a government operative. But his true origins? They're spun into a cover story. He's the son of two American research scientists tragically lost in a plane crash, and President Clinton even dubs him an American citizen. The day after the big press splash, Scott questions Hyperion about his true past, but Hyperion can only say he doesn't know. Back at the Washington Herald, Scott tells his boss that Hyperion's eyes show isolation and loneliness, a sign of something still not being right. Plus, Scott's hearing whispers of another super-fast being moving around Georgia, making him suspect Hyperion isn't the only superhero out there. The plot thickens. What a wild ride, true believers. Hyperion's secret is out, but it seems there's still plenty for Jason Scott to uncover. What do you think Scott will find in Georgia? Thor, Volume 2, Issue 70. In a hidden cave, Mistress Kaya, a powerful magic wielder, and her followers spot Thialvi's arrival. They know it's the moment Zarko the Seer predicted. Meanwhile, in Loki's grim dungeon, Thor greets Thialvi, but Thialvi immediately calls him out. Thor's missing an eye and his left arm, and even Mjolnir. Before Thor can explain, Loki butts in. Thor demands Loki release Jordal, but Loki holds on to her for questioning. No dice for Loki, though, as Jordal escapes and runs right into a grown Magni, Thor's son, who helps her get clear. Thor then takes Thialvi on a whirlwind tour, showing him what his reign has done to Earth. Thialvi asks about the other Asgardians, and Thor drops a bombshell. Sif died when Asgard was destroyed. During their tour, Thor explains mortals are free, and Earth's energy now comes from jewels harnessed to the planet's core. But then the big confession: Thor admits that he abolished religions to stop strife in the Middle East, and Thialvi has some serious doubts. But Thor just insists the Earth is practically perfect now. Back in her hideout, Kaya isn't playing. She pulls Zarko's time travel device from under glass, and then she looks down a deep shaft into her lair, and at the bottom, just sitting there, is none other than Mjolnir. A chilling reminder that this perfect future might have some huge cracks and that major power is out of Thor's hand. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 1, Issue 48. So things kick off at the Daily Bugle, and Peter Parker is having a day. He's there to grab his stuff, but it quickly turns into an epic rant against J. Jonah Jameson. Peter just unleashes, telling JJ that he was fired not because he messed up, because J. Jonah Jameson is too twisted to give a straight answer. Whew! JJ naturally threatens to call security, and Peter bails, probably muttering under his breath all the way out the door. No cap, it's a whole scene. Still fuming, Peter swings away from the bugle, but now he's in his full Spider Man gear and he's furious. Where does the super mad Spidey go? Straight to Kingpin's building, obviously. He tries to smash through the reinforced glass. Seriously, Peter, what are you thinking? But it doesn't budge. Spider Man just screams in rage at the unmoving Kingpin on the inside, who, of course, just stares back at him with an absolute evil grin on his face. Talk about adding insult to injury. Later, the anger is still simmering when Peter's at Midtown High. He brings up Kingpin's recent pardon in class looking for some answers, but when his teacher doesn't give him the right one, Peter just loses it and lashes out. The result? His suspension. So within a single 24-hour period, Peter's fired and suspended. You can bet Aunt May is not happy about his double whammy. And talk about disappointed superhero mom, she's probably low key ready to ground him forever. But hey, Peter's not the only one digging into Kingpin. While all this is going down, Ben Aldrich from the Daily Bugle is interviewing Sam Bullitt. It starts off chill, but Ben quickly pivots, hitting Bullitt with some hard questions about his ties to Wilson Fisk. Ben records the whole intense exchange and races back to the Bugle. And guess what? They decide to run the story. Looks like someone else is ready to take on the Kingpin, even if Peter's currently taking a timeout for everything. Ultimate X-Men, Volume 1, Issue 38. Back at the X Mansion, Professor Xavier deep dives into Wolverine's mind, rummaging through those Weapon X memories, and bam! He uncovers the truth. Tara, the relentless hunter, was a soldier in that same twisted program, working right alongside John Wraith. After Logan bails, Xavier hits up Nick Fury, laying out his new threat to his X Men. But Fury, ever the government guy, tells Xavier to chill, asserting that S.H.I.E.L.D. can handle it and the X Men, being a peacekeeping force, should sit this one out, right? Wolverine stomps into the dining hall, immediately feeling the icy stares and judgmental vibes from his teammates. Seriously, guys, fed up, he heads out to the yard for some peace, only to be joined by Jean Grey. She lays it all out, telling him she'll never forgive him for trying to off Cyclops. She'll be a teammate, sure, respecting Xavier's call, but anything romantic between them? Toast. Just as things get awkward, Jean feels a familiar, powerful presence. A helicopter sent by Tara, of course, is hovering in the distance, zeroing in on Wolverine once more. The pilot thinks they're unseen, but whoosh! A fiery Jean Grey comes soaring towards them. The Phoenix Force takes a hold once again and completely overrides Jean's actions, obliterating the helicopter and its occupants in a devastating explosion, leaving both Wolverine and Xavier utterly stunned. Talk about a fiery farewell. What do you think? Is Phoenix going to be a friend or a foe in this saga? Wolverine, Volume 3, Issue 6. Greetings, my narrative navigators. We're diving deep into the soul of a hero, or perhaps an anti hero. Agent Cassie Lathrop is haunted by a man she met in Portland, a mysterious figure she can't get out of her head, unaware that this man is the one and only Wolverine. As she struggles with a sketch artist to capture his visage, the same pain and confusion haunt Logan himself in a New York City bar. His old friend Nightcrawler arrives, but even a priest in disguise can't bring peace to when Logan's thoughts are consumed by a memory of a girl he couldn't save and a far darker confession he's hiding. And in a moment of sheer desperation, he reveals his secret. He killed 27 men? Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, okay. Show of hands. How many people thought Wolverine's body count was closer to 5,023, or hell, maybe even 10,523? I call filler. Kurt, grappling with his own faith, questions if Logan's brutal justice makes him an evil man, or is he just looking for absolution? And Logan confesses he's not a monster, but the weight of his deeds makes him question everything he thought he knew about himself. What a gut wrenching tale, true believers. Logan has laid his soul bare, but with such blood on his hands, can there ever truly be absolution? Extreme X Men, Volume 1, Issue 32. Okay, so picture this. The Extreme X-Men are chilling at the Mermaid Club in Valle Soledad, California, there to support Cannonball's girlfriend Lila Cheney, who's performing. And then suddenly a woman strolls in strapped with enough plastic explosives to level the place. Bishop instantly spots her, and Rogue, quick as a flash, stops the detonator. Cannonball yells at Lila to teleport everybody to safety and then blasts off with the bomber. Rogue, barely grabbing on for a midair struggle, manages to cut the bomb free, sending both it and the screaming woman plummeting. The woman manages to hit the detonator button anyway, causing a massive explosion. Cannonball saves Rogue just in time as the woman screams more hatred about muty lovers. Back on the dock, Jake Freeston identifies the bomber as Marie DeConta, his kid's babysitter. Maria then wakes up attacking Rogue, but Bishop restrains her as she screams more hatred. Meanwhile, in Crawford, Texas, a terrifying black funnel cloud bears down on the presidential ranch. Security is going wild, the pilots praying, and everyone scrambling for the bunker. Suddenly, a face emerges from the tornado, and then poof, the storm vanishes. Later, we find Storm utterly exhausted on Gambit's lap, her clothes ripped and comparing her recovery to Wolverine's healing factor. Gambit teases her and then kisses her, confessing his love for Rogue, but that Storm has his heart. Their intimate moment is crashed by Valerie Cooper and Colonel Vashin, who are clearly questioning if Storm caused or stopped the tornado. Storm, quick witted and having just created new clothes from lightning, boldly tells them both, just like them. The next day at Rogue's house, Maria awakens. Rogue tries to talk to her, but Maria demands a lawyer and then knocks a soda off the table. Rogue calmly stops her, showing her images of the innocent people Maria almost killed, including Jake Freeston, a mutant whose children Marie babysat. Marie, tearing up, reveals a horrific missing eye and scars, blaming the mutants for it. Marie then chillingly lays out her dark past and motivation. She recounts an accident where the flames were her own and pulling her brother's body into the wreckage. She claims the X Corp reps discouraged her uncle's investigation, calling it species harassment. Her house was mysteriously bought, and she and her uncle tormented by nightmares, leading to their entire neighborhood transforming into a new mutant community. Driven by a hate website called Purity, she learned to make bombs, targeting Robert DaCosta and the Mermaid Club. She reveals that on the morning of the attack, she visited her parents' graves just to find them being desecrated by mutants. And standing on the balcony with Rogue, Bishop, Sage, Marie declares that she's absolutely not sorry for what she did and would do it again in a heartbeat. And this is a profoundly disturbing look into the origin of a hate-filled act, and it's a chilling reminder there are raw emotions boiling up within this universe. All right, buckle up, my canon keepers, because we're going to jump right into it. Peter Parker is lost in the very currents of time itself, basically a ghost stuck watching his own painful memories play out. You see him in one stark, gut wrenching frame as a future, beat up Spider Man making the ultimate sacrifice for Mary Jane and their son Ben. The last thing he looks at? Aunt May's gravestone. Talk about heavy, right? Then the page rips them back to the pivotal moment, a spider descending, the bite that changed everything. Peter's heart wrenches as he debates trying to change it, but he can't. What happens next is chilling. He shares his scream of agony with his younger self as his past starts to fade. Just when despair threatens to consume him, Doctor Strange emerges and his voice becomes a lifeline. Strange pulls Peter into a disorienting rapid fire tour through his entire personal history. We see Peter effortlessly dispatching classic foes like Sandman and the Vulture, and these fights are like familiar echoes to him, total breeze. But then just as quickly, he's violently yanked to the next memory, facing down the Lizard and Electro. And get this, he's not just battling villains, he's grappling with the haunting echoes of Betty Brant's grief. I mean, no cap, it's a lot to process, even for a seasoned hero. The whole trip just intensifies. Peter's hurled into Mysterio's mind bending illusions and then slammed by the crushing might of the Hulk. And then in a truly heartbreaking sequence, you witness the devastating fall of Gwen Stacy. Every single memory is a fresh wound, a harsh reminder of everything he's lost. The weight of his failures almost break him, but through it all, Doctor Strange's voice is a persistent beacon, telling him, push past the pain, Peter, keep moving forward. He's low key guiding Peter through the absolute worst of it. Finally, after enduring the intense gauntlet of his most iconic foes and profound tragedies, Peter is hurtled back into the present. And what's super cool is he arrives with just seconds to spare, stopping Reed from unleashing Dormammu. And with the combined powers of the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and Doctor Strange himself, they avert disaster. The whole Odyssey wraps up with a truly special gift from Doctor Strange. Back home, celebrating his birthday with MJ, Peter opens a special glowy gift. And up on the roof, almost like he stepped out of another dimension, steps Uncle Ben. Now, their conversation is short, but it's incredibly profound. A final lesson from his guiding light. All Peter truly needs to be happy. And what with that, he goes back down to MJ, forever changed by his tripping balls through the threads of time. Captain America, Volume 4, Issue 19. Okay, so let's set the scene. Captain America is taken to this underground rebel base. You see him reuniting with the host of familiar faces: Matt Murdock, Nick Fury, Henry Pym, Janet Van Dyne, Frank Castle, and Bruce Banner amongst them. But here's the real kicker. The rebel leader is none other than Bucky Barnes. And as they catch each other up on the state of things, they get some grim news from Donald Blake. Peter Parker, who was working undercover for the rebels at Stark Industries, since Stark Tech is now Red Skull's hands, has been captured, and the Skull's plan is to have a public hanging scheduled for dawn. Dawn breaks and the Red Skull makes his chilling broadcast announcement. Peter is led down to the gallows and put on a noose. And the lever's pulled, but just before he can make the final drop, a perfectly thrown shield cuts the rope and Peter hits the ground. It's Cap, of course, taking the fight straight to the Nazi guards. Meanwhile, Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm quickly grab a groggy, drugged-up Peter and get him out of there fast. Not wasting a single second, Captain America uses the opportunity to declare to the crowd that the revolution has about to begin. The Red Skull witnesses this, but he doesn't seem to care about the escaped prisoners. His only focus is on capturing Captain America. So he threatens to have his men open fire on the crowd unless Captain surrenders. And to save innocent lives, Captain willingly gives himself up. However, the Red Skull has a truly horrifying trick up his sleeve. As Ben and Johnny are still making their getaway with Peter, they quickly realize why they haven't been pursued. The near unconscious Peter has been wired with explosives. The Red Skull simply presses a button, carrying out the execution order himself. And in a shocking, fiery blast, three would-be heroes, Peter, Ben, and Johnny, are incinerated. Captain America, now a captive, is taken away, surely unaware of the devastating sacrifice that has just occurred. But back at the rebel base, everyone feels immense loss, but there's no time to grieve. News of the Nazi time machine reaches Bucky, and he decides he can't wait any longer. The revolution must begin immediately. The very next day, you see Matt Murdock boldly confront the guards at Stark Industries, using their own weapons against them, signaling the start of a massive attack. It's a total war as Reed Richards and Henry Pym attempt to break into Stark Industries, while the others unleash a hail of gunfire. Inside, the door to Cap's cell opens, and in walks Tony Stark. It turns out that Tony wasn't a traitor at all. He was a deep undercover and proceeds to set Captain America free. They almost get caught by the guards, but Tony's bluff fails, and Captain America's fists have to do the talking instead. Amidst the chaos, Tony's heart begins to weaken and fail. Knowing that he can't keep up, he gives Cap a mysterious device and urges him to go, and then bravely stays behind, defending Captain America's escape under a literal storm of Nazi bullets. What a dramatic turn for Tony. Emma Frost, Volume 1, Issue 4. It's another series we're joining in the middle, so let's back up a little bit. The story begins at Snow Valley High School, showing Emma Frost's difficult teenage years. She feels like an outsider, often clashing with Matilda Brandt and dealing with her father Winston's dismissive nature. Her home life is strained, with family members often in conflict, and Emma experiences headaches and early signs of something more. She tries for a normal life, like attending a school dance, but her father's rules block her. Only Mr. Kendall, her teacher, shows her genuine care. Yet even this is complicated when Mr. Winston's control leads him to expose Emma's secret to the school. It's clear from the start Emma's world is already full of conflict and betrayal. After collapsing, Emma's powers truly begin to manifest. She downplays her fainting spell at school, but Mr. Kendall senses a deeper issue. Matilda continues to mock Emma, accusing her of faking it. The Frost family drama escalates when Winston fires the maid because of Emma's incident. A key moment, Emma accidentally uses her telepathy, discovering Christian's secret, and is using his power to protect him from Winston's control. She learns quickly. Later, Emma takes a midterm purposefully underperforming, but Winston's influence leads to another perfect score. That breaks Emma's trust, especially when she overhears Mr. Kendall confirming the fix. It's a harsh lesson. The world isn't always fair, and power does rig the game. Uh, this issue takes Emma and us true believers to a chaotic family vacation on the French Riviera. She navigates the family drama, including Christian's secret love life and Adrian's constant provocations. Emma's telepathy advances, allowing her to access Dante's memories and confirms Christian's hidden relationship. A dark turn occurs when she bumps into a man, triggering a disturbing mental image of a human brain, which sickens her. Her language skills also improve as she suddenly speaks fluent French. Emma then catches her father Winston with a mistress and takes photos. When she follows him to the nightclub and she sees Christian is drugged by the same man. Emma uses her powers to defend Christian, accidentally causing mental pain to others. It's a period of personal and psychic turmoil showing the uncontrolled nature of her abilities. The Riviera vacation reaches a breaking point as Christian reveals the truth about Dante and their relationship to Emma, trusting her completely. But this trust is immediately betrayed when Adrian secretly records their talk and gives it to Winston. Emma tries to fight back using her photos of Winston's affair to expose him after he shames Christian. Fantastic Four, Volume 1, Issue 505. This saga kicks off with Mr. Fantastic laying down the law in Latveria. He hits the airwaves with a televised speech, appointing himself the sovereign ruler to keep the nation safe from its enemies. He even shows footage of the Fantastic Four helping the country, disarming Doom's weapons, and also the rogue Doom bots. And as a show of good faith, Reed announces that Doom's castle will be open to the locals tomorrow to do with as they please. And the very next morning, the Latverian people swarm the castle, taking or breaking whatever they fancy. Johnny finds the mob mentality unbecoming, but Reed explains that it's for their catharsis. The team splits up to keep an eye out. Reed then watches two men duke it out over destroying the portrait of Dr. Doom's mother, Cynthia Von Doom. When Reed questions protecting the mother of the murderer, the men just strip the painting of its golden frame. Ben overhears this, totally shocked by what's coming out of Reed's mouth. Things get tense when a Latvian suicide bomber loyal to Doom tries to blow everyone sky high with a vibranium bomb. The Fantastic Four easily subdues him and disarms the vest. Reed is absolutely furious and is about to go full heavy tactics when the others convince him that they can't act like Doctor Doom when they want to protect people from Doctor Doom. Sheesh. Meanwhile, back at the United Nations headquarters in New York City, a meeting is called to discuss the Latverian situation. The members agreed to disavow Reed's coup big time. Nick Fury and the U.S. rep are told they must stand by the other nations, otherwise giants like China and Russia will assume that the U.S. endorses the occupation, potentially sparking a declaration of war. Talk about global stakes. Now, back in Latveria, Ben finds Fleed trying to chill with Franklin. Reed's birthday suggestions fall flat, as Franklin just wants to know when his family will come home. Reed's bummed his son won't even look him in the face. Now, Ben cuts in, telling Reed that the teleporter's all ready to go. Soon, Franklin is teleported back to the moon, chilling with Crystal, the Inhuman. And with Franklin gone, Ben airs his worries about Reed's mental state, bringing up the painting incident and the suicide bomber. When Reed gets huffy, the thing lays it out. Reed's starting to sound more and more like Doctor Doom. Ben drops another bomb that Doom's damage to Reed is more than just skin deep. This hits Reed and Sue hard, sparking a heated argument between Sue and Ben. Sue unleashes a low blow, telling Ben she's doing what's best for her kids and he wouldn't understand until he has his own. She regrets it instantly, but the damage is done, and Ben storms out. At a nearby bar, the Human Torch is putting on a show for some young women when the Thing interrupts him. He spills the beans. He's found a Latverian resistance member that is there in the bar. They follow the dissident to their hideout and confront him. But when Ben and Johnny try to talk to him, the resistance leader is absolutely terrified of them, only muttering his name and rank. And then suddenly a whole army of Doombots come smashing right in through the wall. Our heroes are quickly outnumbered, and the robots swarm and easily incapacitate Johnny, Ben, and the resistance members. As Ben starts to black out, the last horrifying thing he sees is Reed Richards standing amongst the Doombots, controlling them for his own sinister ends? What a twist, true believers! Punisher, Volume 4, Issue 34. Okay, my fandom force. The last time we were with Punisher, he was in a serious jam, staring down three major heroes. He knows there's no way he's taking them all on at once, so he pulls the classic move. He pretends to surrender, asking for one last cheeseburger before they take him in. You see him casually stroll across the street into the diner, and the heroes, completely thrown off balance, follow right behind him, not quite sure what to do. Inside, Dave, who's been tailing the Punisher, is absolutely thrilled, practically vibrating with excitement at seeing the heroes in tow. While Spider Man, Daredevil, and the Wolverine are busy bickering and trying to figure out their next move, Frank Castle's already formulating an escape plan. Then bam! The Punisher makes his move. He elbows Wolverine right in the nose, and you know what that does to Logan. It sends him absolutely berserk, ready to kill. This instantly throws the whole team into chaos. Spidey and Daredevil suddenly have their hands full, forced to work together to hold Wolverine back from going completely feral. This perfect distraction gives the Punisher exactly what he needs, an opening to make an escape. And when Frank gone, the three heroes are left sitting there in the diner, probably ordering those burgers themselves, wondering just how everything went so wrong. Meanwhile, the Punisher isn't wasting a second. He's right back on the trail of that super important auction he's been tracking down this entire time. He quickly locates a secret site and spots a highly suspicious, guarded van with an unknown man inside. Without hesitation, Frank bursts in, only to discover it's not just a meeting, it's actually an auction for something of immense power. The Punisher, true to form, eliminates everyone present. He then tortures the survivors to pinpoint the merchandise, which it turns out is right there in the van. Frank also snags a video of being used to advertise this mysterious item. He heads back to his base with the video, the van, and the merchandise, still unsure what makes this particular item so special. But you know he's going to find out. New Mutants, Volume 2, Issue 6. We're back with the New Mutants in a grimy New York parking garage. Donald Pierce's Reavers are being absolutely thrashed by the aforementioned Neo Mutants. Turns out some unexpected heroism emerges. Derek, a human prisoner, defies his employer to help save the day, proving he's no mere bystander. And just when things get hairy, Shan steps in, psychically stopping the remaining Reavers cold in their tracks. But the chaos is far from over as nearby Donald Pierce brutally stabs Laurie Collins, unleashing Kevin Ford's terrifying new power, a death touch that rapidly decays Pierce. Josh attempts to heal Laurie while Daniel steps in, creating a powerful illusion that makes Kevin think he's decaying Laurie instead of Pierce forcing him to stop. Seeing the horror of his own power, Kevin is utterly disgusted and decides that he can't stay at Xavier's, fearing that it'll hurt those around him. What a devastating start. Kevin's departure isn't the only heartbreak. Josh, reeling from his own use of healing powers, returns home only for his so-called friends to expose him to his parents. And then in a truly awful turn, they brutally beat him while his parents watch on and then shut them out with their curtains. With nowhere left to go, Josh arrives at Xavier's Institute, only to find himself rooming with the very sharp-tongued David Elaine. What follows is a tense exchange with David challenging Josh's naive views on prejudice and privilege, a new confrontation about bigotry that sets the stage for a complicated new dynamic. Amidst all this turmoil, Daniel Moonstar is struggling. Haunted by Kevin's power and her own actions, she retreats to the danger room, training aggressively and even considering leaving the school. She argues with Shan, insisting she's a warrior, not a teacher. But Xavier, ever the strategist, has a plan. Recognizing the students' need for guidance, he announces a new policy: student advisors chosen by the students themselves. And guess what? Despite Daniel's reluctance and self doubt, Sophia, David, Laurie, and even Josh, who says nobody else wants him, all choose her as their advisor. Their collective vote of confidence is the turning point. Danielle, finally accepting her crucial role, agrees to stay and teach, but with one condition. In class, the kids will have to call her Miss Moonstar. And just like that, a new era of leadership begins at the Institute, promising fresh challenges and unexpected growth for everybody.
Silver Surfer, Volume 5, Issue 2. All right, my comic collective, we're starting off with issue 2 of 6, so I'll back up a little. Let's kick off with Ellie Waters, a young autistic kid in New Orleans who's a total art whiz. Problem is, all she's drawing lately is the same freaky, silvery alien, over and over. Her mom, Denise Waters, is a street voodoo practitioner, hustling fortunes to keep the bills paid. One night after her street operation gets busted by the police, Denise heads home with Ellie, and just as she's trying to catch some Z's, an electric blast jolts the house. Denise rushes to Ellie's room only to witness a terrifying sight: the same silvery alien abducting her daughter right before her eyes. This issue slams down the shocking start of Denise's nightmare and sets the stage for Silver Surfer's direct involvement with his family's sudden, terrifying crisis. It's a brutal entry into a cosmic conflict. All right, true believers, we just saw Ellie snatched and Denise reeling. Now let's punch forward into the next issue where the search for Ellie heats up and the stakes get even higher. The action picks up fast, true believers. It's night at the Akron mansion in Washington, and Gabe Akron wakes up to a terrifying sight. He's face to face with the same silvery alien. His father, Stuart, hears the ruckus and tries to save his son, but a jolt of extreme pain stops him cold. Meanwhile, Denise Waters is reporting Ellie's abduction to the police. She's eventually taken to the hospital, nursing burns she got from being too close to the silver alien. Once released, Denise hits the internet cafes, desperate for answers for her missing daughter. So intense is she that she's eventually kicked out for scaring off the other customers. Out on the street, Denise bumps into Lieutenant Morin again, the same cop she's already crossed paths with twice. But this time he offers to help. Now, back in the unknown, Ellie and Gabe are together, and Ellie shows off a wild talent: astral projecting to her mom. But the projection snaps back as the Silver Surfer himself makes an appearance. Talk about a cliffhanger. Uncanny X-Men, Volume 1, Issue 432. In Azazel's dimension, the X-Men are throwing down with his demonic horde, but a single powerful blast of their leader stops everyone cold. With his followers and his opponents stunned, Azazel calls out specific mutants he wants brought before him at dinner, singling out Wolverine and the Animal and Nightcrawler as well. Meanwhile, in a quiet home in Vancouver, the scene is anything but peaceful. Miss Perret is in a heated argument with her husband Claude about his physical abuse of their son Sammy. She throws a cutting barb, saying Sammy would probably be safer with the monster Juggernaut than his own father. Just then, a knock at the door sends a shiver down Claude's spine. Miss Perret opens the door and gasps in shock at the sight as Kane Marco and his friend Northstar. Back in Azazel's eerie dining hall, he's just dropped the biggest bombshell of them all. Azazel tells Kurt that he, along with the terrifying Mystique, are actually his biological parents. The gasps of Nightcrawler's teammates are almost as loud as his own. Azazel, calm in command, proves his chilling words by having his follower Idrisil brutally kill Professor Dibble for daring to call him a liar. The X-Men look on, stunned, and Wolverine unleashes his claws. And this, folks, is the feels, fellow fanatics. Juggernaut calmly tells the Perrets that he's only there to make sure Sammy's all right. But the parents aren't having any of it, revealing that they have a restraining order against him. Miss Perret tries to find the panic button just as Kane's expression of concern turns to pure, unadulterated fury as he lays eyes on the battered and bruised face of Sammy. Kane lifts Claude up and in a brutal display breaks his arm before throwing him through the wall into the lawn outside. But as he does, the cavalry arrives, Alpha Flight looking ready to rumble in brand new gear. Northstar quips, well, look what we have here. Alpha Flight all dressed up and ready to rumble in new designer armor. How chic. With two impossible situations unfolding at once, the stakes have never been higher. And what do you think Azazel's ultimate goal is for the Nightcrawler? What a chaotic scene we're jumping into. We're at a diner where a guy named Uper is teasing a dude named Clem, who's got a grim secret, an alien parasite stuck into him who wants to eat everyone. Uper, thinking it's just a joke, doesn't notice as Clem transforms into a massive black monster. As the patrons bolt for the door, they're gunned down by 2 agents from the Ararat Corporation. But the alien symbiote isn't there for the agents. It's looking for a new home, and it finds one in a woman named Nan. And just as the agents are about to take out Nan, Wolverine himself appears out of nowhere, only to be attacked from behind by the newly bonded symbiote. And now, it's a full-blown brawl between Logan and the new terrifying Nan. Logan slices off the symbiote's hand, but it regenerates instantly, laughing as it tells him that no one's ever heard it like that before. Wolverine quickly realizes this is not the venom he's used to dealing with. The symbiote taunts him, calling him a disappointment, just an angry little man with small knives. In a full berserker's frenzy, Logan tries to break free, but the symbiote just scoffs, telling him it's only making him hungrier as he tries to make him a new host. And as the fight rages on, Patricia Robertson, a woman who's been caught up in all of this, regains consciousness and tries to make a run for it, only to be ambushed by Frankie. And at the same time, the suit appears firing a powerful blast at Logan. The symbiote is still pushing for Logan to become his host, promising he will never be hungry again, but the suit's blast is so powerful it reduces Wolverine to a skeleton, though bizarrely his clothes are still intact. Talk about a brutal end for Logan. Extreme X-Men, Volume 1, Issue 33. Okay, my fandom, we're jumping right into the thick of it at the courthouse at Valle Soleada, where mutant hater Maria DeCanto is pleading not guilty to a hate crime. And this case is a powder keg. We have mutant and anti-mutant factions clashing left and right as the political tensions ratchet up. We cut to Rogue, who's having a nightmare from hell. In her dreams, she's terrified as she morphs into Mystique and viciously kills her teammates. Hearing her foster mother's voice taunting her over and over again that she's only good because of her stolen hero memories. Fortunately, Lila, Cheney, and Cannonball teleport just in time to wake her up from the nightmare. The next day, a smooth-talking lawyer named Jared Malloy shows up and tries to scam Anna and Sam into selling their beach house, arguing it's the best for their own kind to stick together. Sage and Sam immediately see through the slick scheme, realizing it's a covert way for baselines to push mutants out of their neighborhoods. The stakes are raised even higher when Storm makes a bold statement at the presidential ranch warning that young mutants are the real concern for the future of global survival. The problem isn't just outside forces, though. We cut to a beach party where some arrogant mutants are bragging about causing the DeCanto accident, which enrages Rogue. As Rogue promises to show that bragging mutants what hardcore really means, the team gets to work on the DeCanto case. But the bigger story is just beginning. Bishop and the others arrive, with Bishop saying that Jared puts a new spin on Marie's case. Sage, knowing exactly what Jared is up to, takes off to find him, completely unaware that she's just walked into a much bigger trap as she leaves the shadowy Elias Bogan, a powerful figure from her past, watches her from afar, knowing that she has returned to him. And the stakes just went from political to personal. Do you think Rogue will break free from Mystique's dark legacy? Ecstatics, Volume 1, Issue 15. Welcome back, my comic cadets. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just flipping through the pages, we're diving into the Ecstatics archives. Get ready to catch up on Henrietta Hunter's wild ride. You'll need it for what comes next. Now, after years of being dead, Henrietta Hunter brings herself back to life. How? She inhabits a recently deceased corpse, transforming it to resemble herself. Her resurrection immediately grabs the European government's attention, and they quickly try to end her life. Again. Fortunately, Spike Freeman, always an angle on that one, gets involved. He sends Ecstatics to rescue Henrietta, bringing her to their headquarters. Professor Xavier confirms she's a mutant, but the team's not keen on adding her. Seeking a new place, Henrietta begins the talk show circuit, including Lacuna on the Stars. European power brokers Reggie and Dicky view her celebrity as a threat. And while they strategize, Spike Freeman approaches them with the Eurotrash, a crew of international assassins with stereotypical powers. The deal? His team kills Henrietta Hunter for the assassination media rights. What a grim PR stunt. And soon after, as the Ecstatics megastore opening in Times Square, the Wall kidnaps Henrietta. Tyke is hesitant to rescue someone he dislikes,
But then Spider-Man arrives, and even if Tyke isn't Henrietta's fan, nobody steals the ecstatic's limelight. So the team leaps into action. Now, in a war-torn country, Jesus Diaz dreams of being a mutant like Guy Smith or Tyke Alucard to join the ecstatics in America. Tragically, he steps on a landmine. Back in America, the ecstatic tried to save Henrietta from Eurotrash. Spider-Man briefly clashes with Billy Bob before the villains drag Henrietta into the megastore. Inside, Henrietta attempts to convince Eurotrash to improve their standing, aiming for more fame than the ecstatics. Now, from their tower, the ecstatics learn the Eurotrash demand a $10 million ransom. Later, Spike phones Reggie, promising Henrietta's death to prevent his own documents detailing chemical shipments to Saddam Hussein from leaking. Dupe eavesdrops on the phone call and records it for Guy and Tyke. The team confronts Spike, and then El Guapo ties him up while the others are off to save Henrietta. Then Spike convinces El Guapo to kill Henrietta, making it look like an accident. When El Guapo arrives inside the megastore, he considers killing Henrietta by accident, but instead kills Blind Alley. Later, Ecstatic holds a press conference alongside Henrietta. Reggie watches Henrietta claim she wants to change Ecstatic's costumes on television, causing him to have a heart attack and collapse. Henrietta is then shown visiting young Jesus, crippled by the landmine, who wishes to be a mutant and join the Ecstatics. Henrietta claims she can arrange honorary membership, and the team then sees her initial costume designs. Bombshell, Spike reveals Henrietta will soon replace Tyke as the leader, citing shareholder and marketing approval. The team reaches a chilling consensus. Henrietta must die. Spike immediately approves. But to truly grasp the tangled web that's about to ensnare our heroes, and to understand just how deep the rabbit hole goes, we need to take a detour. Let's rewind a few years, back to Texas. Earlier, Spike attended a speech by Mr. Code. Remember that name. And in the present, outside a Florida shopping mall, a young man named Wayne tries to discard food his mother has bought. And then she and 14 others are shot dead, with similar incidents in Denver and San Francisco. As hysteria grips the nation, the Secretary of Homeland Defense, Ed Wolfman, appears on TV urging no panic, and Mr. Code watches on. As the Ecstatics watch Wolfman, Spike brings up killing Henrietta on a Caribbean yacht. And the Ecstatics teleport onto the yacht, confronting her and stating their intent to kill her. But then Lacuna reveals herself having used Venus to teleport her there. Lacuna vouches for Henrietta, seeing her as the symbol of a woman used and discarded when they begin to grow. Later, the Ecstatics reconsider killing Henrietta after a mission with her to rescue a reality TV show that was kidnapped by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Billy Bob bravely defects an explosive aimed at Henrietta, saving her life but crippling El Guapo instead. After the mission, Tyke lashes out at Billy Bob for saving Henrietta. Billy Bob and Miles argue with Tyke about El Guapo's injuries before Guy breaks them up, declaring Henrietta will destroy the Ecstatics if they're not careful. The random killings continue, and 2 civilians are shot in Milwaukee. While discussing Henrietta, Wolfman claims he tried to protect the people and urges the Ecstatics to help. Guy opposes intervening, but the decision is Henrietta's. Ecstatic holds a press conference where Henrietta simultaneously declares that she will take over Homeland Defense and end the random killings. And that brings us right up to the present. What a ride, huh? Avengers Volume 3, Issue 73. This wild ride kicks off with Ant-Man soaking up some quality time with his daughter, playing with his shrinking tech and explaining that Hank Pym hooked him up. They share a sad farewell as Jarvis arrives to take her home. Scott then asks the big question: have the rest of the Avengers found Jennifer Walters yet? Cut to Bone, Idaho, where an out-of-control She-Hulk is absolutely tearing things up trying to blast the Scarlet Witch. Wanda tries to dial down the Gamma in Jen to bring her back, but the She-Hulk resists. Iron Man shows up, tries to contain her, and fails miserably. Wanda and Captain America then realize Jen is far stronger in this state. She-Hulk tries to punch their tickets, but Iron Man swoops in, saving them and flying them away as the battle triggers a gas explosion. Talk about a bad first impression. Back at the Avengers mansion, Scott takes Jack of Hearts to the Zero Room so the dude can recharge. But it's not a friendly chat, comic companions. Scott immediately lays into Jack, straight up blaming him for Jennifer losing control of her She-Hulk form because he thinks Jack of Hearts is siphoning Gamma from her. A sorrowful Jack gets locked away in that room for 14 hours. Meanwhile, back in Bone, a frantic restaurant owner tries and fails to contact the military, who are already assuming it's Hulk causing the ruckus. There's this great She-Hulk mad page, and then she continues on her full-on rampage. The Scarlet Witch suddenly remembering Jen talking about her fear triggering her transformation and figures it out. They've got to get She-Hulk out of town so she can chill. And the She-Hulk tries to smash a cable tower. Wanda, thinking quick, makes the tower fall right on top of her in hopes of stopping the rampage. That move fails spectacularly as She-Hulk just rises up unscathed, shaking it off like it's nothing. And just when you think it can't get any wilder, Hawkeye shows up out of nowhere, joining the fray. Get ready for some more action. The Incredible Hulk, Volume 2, Issue 62. Our tale starts back up with Doc Samson and Sandra Verduga on that frantic race to Nadia's diner, a journey that ended in a fiery crash orchestrated by the sinister operatives of home base. The agents on direct order to kill both of them are specifically instructed that Sandra can't just be killed. Her remains must be dismembered and scattered. Meanwhile, back at the diner, Nadia and the mysterious Mr. Blue find themselves under siege. They retreat inside from the horrifying swarm of insect-like creatures known as the Krill, creations of home base sent to collect a sample of the Hulk's blood. The situation gets even more tense as Mr. Blue suddenly turns a shotgun on Nadia, but then immediately fires it into the darkness, killing one of the Krill creatures. The siege intensifies, forcing Nadia and Mr. Blue to barricade themselves in the house's upper levels, fighting side by side against the seemingly endless horde of Krill. The two women realize they have more in common than they thought, a shared connection to Bruce Banner. And just as the Krill swarm begins to break through the final defenses, a seemingly innocent flat tire suddenly halts Bruce Banner's car just down the road. He's ambushed by a group of Krill, forcing Banner into a corner. And as the Krill close in, a classic Banner transformation sends a terrifying green giant hurtling towards the diner. And back at the crash site, in a masterclass of deception, Doc Samson and Sandra Verduga pull off a brilliant bluff, allowing them to turn the tables on their would-be assassins and to steal their chopper to continue their race to Nadia's. And just as the women believe all hope is lost, the Hulk bursts through the floorboards, scattering the Krill and saving them from certain doom. The mysterious Mr. Blue, bleeding and battered, shouts a desperate plea at our Gamma-spawned brute, begging him to flee the scene. The Hulk, cradling the woman in his massive hands, gets a good look at her face, and in a shocking, heart-stopping moment, he realizes the woman he's holding onto is his late wife, Betty Ross, back from the grave and at the center of the greatest mystery of his life. The Invincible Iron Man, Volume 3, Issue 73. The story kicks off with a truly horrific way, right on the border of Ethiopia and Somalia, where a brand new Peregrine helicopter, the supposed pinnacle of military technology, suddenly goes completely sideways. Its IFF systems, targeting systems, and microwave units all begin to glitch out, causing an utter disaster that leads to the topper being shot down. The true nightmare is revealed after the clash. The helicopter's microwave weapon had melted the cooling pipes in the soldiers' special ops suits, mixing water-based coolant with carbide to create deadly acetylene gas, which then incinerated them. In the Pentagon Situation Room under the Secretary Tony Birch, the man responsible for this program is taking a brutal beating. And amidst the chaos, a plan is hatched to bring in the one person they believe can fix the problem. We then cut to Tony Stark at DEF CON East, a deliberate statement that he's out of the weapons business for good. He's presented with the Peregrine classified files and a simple offer. They don't want his weapons, they just want him. They want him to step in and consult to double-check the workmanship and prevent future catastrophes because the president won't hire or fire Sonny Birch. Just as Tony is considering the offer, a distress call to rescue a submarine, the kind of hero work Tony still takes on from time to time, brings him face to face with the problem. Upon saving the remaining crew, a moment of sickening clarity hits him like a gut punch. His own technology was used on the sub, and it was improperly mounted, causing the damage. This leads to the horrifying realization that the technology on the Peregrine was also his. The sickening discovery sends him straight to Sonny Birch for a confrontation. Bert, slick as an oil slick, hits him with the absolute bombshell. He's found a legal loophole to open and use over 300 of Tony's sealed patents, handing them over to more than 100 different contractors without anyone knowing. This isn't just a loophole, folks. It's a full-blown hostile takeover of Tony's entire life's work. After the bombshell, Tony Stark knows that there's only one way to reclaim his legacy. He goes straight to the president and sets in motion a plan that will rock the entire Pentagon. You heard that right. Tony Stark, who left the weapons business, is about to be named the new Secretary of Defense. He's stepping into the heart of the beast, ready to clean house and take back what's his.
All right, my Omni fans, that's a wrap on 2003, and what a year it's been. We saw heroes fall, we saw new villains rise, and the status quo get completely turned on its head. We took a deep dive into the cosmic and street-level corners of the Marvel Universe, but the saga is far from over. As we close out the year and head into 2004, the adventures continue. Next time, we go diving headfirst into Exiles number 37, where Mimic's rampage comes to a tragic end, and a familiar face returns to the team. And then we'll take on Elektra 29, and the next part of the FF saga with Fantastic Four number 506, along with a host of other new releases from the Marvel Universe. Until the next issue, keep fighting the good fight, and keep finding those fantastic finds.